let's go to Proverbs chapter 16:32, because Proverbs 16:32, I want to look at it in the King James and the Amplified. Proverbs 16:32 says something like this. It talks about if you can control your emotions, I mean, you're mightier than any army. But the opposite is true. If you can't control your emotions, mighty armies will invade your life and control you. He says it like this: he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He that is slow than anger is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Now I told you anger is a response. Anger is fear-based. It's fear-based. Anger is an expression of your fear. That's what when you get angry, from this point on, every time you get angry, you're afraid of something. Anger is an expression of fear. I am afraid of something, and so I'm expressing it through my anger. I'll tell you the story about when Tapper was doing business. She was still running the record label, and she was getting ready to do business with somebody, and I expressed anger. And the Lord asked me, he says, what are you afraid of? And I said, don't you mean what am I mad at? He says, no, what are you afraid of? You're expressing your fear. I was like, wow, I never saw that before. I said, I'm afraid that they're going to take advantage of her and hurt her. He says, well, why don't you just tell her that? Wow, that was a big turnaround in my life. And I wrote that book on fear and overcome the spirit of fear, because when you can understand that fear-based issues will always produce other issues in a person's life. So he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. A man or a woman who cannot control his emotions, when you lose your emotions, you are the weakest person on the planet. When you lose your emotions. I gave an illustration the last time I was here about, let's say, a person who was driving his car, and it was your brand new car. It was your brand new expensive car. And somebody, they were not paying attention, and they hit your brand new expensive car. Okay? And instead of you waiting till the police showed up and do everything properly, you jumped out of the car, you got in this person's face, you were expressing your fear, your anger, you're out of control, okay? And, you know, the person kind of brushed you, and you hit them. All right, now the police come, and they arrest you. All right? And it's Friday, and your job said if you miss one more day, you're going to lose your job. Well, you got to work on Saturday, but the judge is not in on Saturday. Right, Judge? Judges don't work on Saturday and Sunday, you know? And then so you're there, you've lost your job. All of that started when you couldn't control, when you lost your temper, when you couldn't control your temper. Don't come with all the other excuses for why you got put in jail, except you were a man out of control. At that point, you were a very weak man. So when we talk about manhood, the weakest man on the planet is the one who cannot control his emotions. The strongest man on the planet is one who can control his emotions. You actually think you're showing people how big and bad you are because you lose your emotions and you start throwing stuff. I don't understand why people do that. I mean, I see that on the movies. They get mad and they tear up their furniture or stuff they work hard for. You know, they tear stuff off the table and break the lamps and all that. I ain't never gonna be that mad to be tearing up stuff I spent my money to buy. They get baseball bats and knock their window out in their car. No, I can go outside in the woods and do that somewhere else, you know. You're a weak guy. You're a weak man. Because a strong man who can control his emotions also has the wisdom to know how to wisely deal with that thing, and that's real power. Being able to think about it. And we got to share that with our brothers, man. We got to listen. You're not strong when you're losing your emotions. You're not strong when you're running the house and talking about I'm gonna get a gun and I'm gonna shoot you. You're afraid. See, when I was growing up, didn't nobody go get no guns. We had a guy, Mr. Rain, in the neighborhood who had boxing gloves. And you had a beef, you had to handle it like a man. And you get in the front yard, put the boxing gloves on, and you know, whoever get knocked out, and most of the time you come out of it, you're so tired because you just think you want to, you know, anger got you exhausted. After you finish, like, man, you know, I'm all right, you all right, man, you go buy freezing cup, and y'all friends for the rest of the time. Ain't nobody shoot nobody. That's fear that drives us to want to go and shoot somebody. And we don't even know our emotions are causing us to do that. If people, there are issues going on in our society today, and we don't even know the beginning wisdom of how to even track it back to the foundation of the issue. We have no idea. Politics can't resolve that. You can go and make more laws and come up with more rules. That's not going to solve that. And that's what the church comes in at. But the church don't even know how to do that. They don't even know how to explain it. They call it a demon. They don't know about it. But the boy got a demon. Bring the boy in. We need to cast it out. Get him delivered in the name of Jesus. Well, I mean, he might have a few demons in him, but those demons are working on his emotions. And he can take authority over the emotion. Satan's been stripped. He don't have too much authority to do nothing unless you yield your emotions to go the way he's suggesting. Is everybody following me? I'm like so seriously gone. I'm going to go and give somebody a piece of my mind. You ain't got much mind left. Just keep your mind and don't be piecing it out to people. What is that? You want to show somebody that you're tough? What's that? That's not demonstrating real power and strength. Real power and real strength is demonstrated to the person that can be quiet and think and have self-control. So he's better than the mighty. And he that ruleth his spirit, he's better than he that taketh a city. Look at this in the Amplified. I mean, this is pretty powerful. He's talking about a guy who can control his emotions being mightier than an army. Look at the Amplified says, he who is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He who rules his own spirit or soul than he who takes a city. And that word's referring to soul. Now, so a man who can control or master his emotions is more powerful than any army that takes a city. So now let's just pause for a moment. There are three main issues I want you to get out of what I said before I start preaching. Three main issues. Let's review for a moment. Number one, you can take control over your emotions. Say that. I can take control over my emotions. Okay. Number two, self-control is a godly force designed by God to direct our lives where he has designed them to go. Self-control is a godly force. It's a fruit of the Spirit, temperance. It's a godly force. It's designed by God. For what purpose? To direct our lives where he has designed them to go. So when you're operating in the fruit of temperance and self-control, you're giving God the opportunity to take your life where he's designed for your life to go. So if you spend all of your time out of control, you're gonna spend all your time off course. And I don't want to be off course. I don't want to spend my time mad. I don't want to. I'm so glad the Holy Spirit on the inside of me reconciled that with my Father. I didn't want to spend the rest of his life me being mad at him. It's just like, okay, whatever's done is done. You know, I'm a Christian now. I forgive. Let's go on. I'm so glad that I was able to do that. It takes a lot more energy to be mad than it is to forgive. And some things you may never figure out. You may have to make your mind up. You know what? Let's go forward. Amen? And the third thing I want you to get out of what I've said so far, uncontrolled, unyielding emotions lead to controlling the wrong thing. Uncontrolled and unyielding emotions will yield to you controlling the wrong thing. And what's that? People. All that'll do is get you to a point where you can control people. Now, let's go to Hebrews chapter 4:15. Let me now give you the official definition of emotions. What are they? Emotions are feelings on the inside caused by pain or pleasure. Emotions are feelings on the inside caused by pain or pleasure. trying to move you in a certain direction. Feelings on the inside caused by pain, caused by pleasure, but the objective is to move you in a direction of pain or move you in a direction of pleasure.